Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. I am your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied to my left and right by my great friends, Steve Maurer and Joel Spencer. We are here to bring you the very best of the Bearcats every single week in podcast form, video or audio. You can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find this. We are part of the 1012 network. Make sure to check out the rest of the network with plenty of shows giving you all the best coverage of the Big 12. Check out that at 1012 Network on Twitter. And as well, shout out to our sponsors, Charlie Hustle. We're going to give you some great shirts for this season because we have some special things coming up this week, which is exciting in a bye week. Perfectly timed. So, gentlemen, I think I'm the only one who watched this Colorado game in full. But, yeah, we came up short. Bowl by Boulder. We talked about it since February 13th. We recorded on the night of February 13th. And fast forward all these months later, it's dead. It's dead. And it sucks, but there's still a lot of potential for the Bearcats to go bowling. We have a handful of games left. It's very doable. However, the initial goal, unfortunately, we came up short. Gentlemen, initial thoughts.
I mean, bowl by Boulder not happening, sure, we can be disappointed in that. But to still be sitting at 5-3 and coming out of this loss, we can touch on it a little bit later. But it's not as doom and gloom as you might have thought it was. Like you come away from the game. Your first point of thought being the late games suck when you're on the East Coast. That was absolutely brutal to
10,
to watch
15
and
start.
follow. Absolutely. But secondly, the better team won on Saturday. And that's not any, negative connotation towards the Bearcats. The Bearcats are still a very good team, but just didn't have it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing too, Joel. Like, you're right that the better team and probably the better talented players honestly won on Saturday. And the other thing too is that, like, I know we got up to 5-2, and like people were starting to think like, oh, maybe we could be doing something. And like, just think about, I think I said this a lot during the basketball season last year of, think about where we were at the start of the season to now, just from an expectation standpoint. I want to apply that to the football season as well, just because, like, how many people were completely out on Satterfield, like completely insistent that this program is going to suck again this year, like finish dead last again. Like, think about how bad things felt like right before the start of the season, and we were just trying to be nice and convince people, hey, this team could win 6 games, and even that was a lot to ask for people. And you're right. You went into a high profile Colorado game, by the way, 7:15 West Coast kickoff time, pretty primo. I was not able to watch the game because Halloween party, but your boy Scotty Scheffler was at least following along, and seems like we did a first half thing at the end of the first half. Not great, but anyway, I do want to keep that in perspective, and like, the bye week will help us do that. And we're going to talk about it next week, but you've got 4 games to play for, and you could be still looking at 7-5. Like, the 2 road trips to Kansas State and Iowa State are tough, man. There's no way around that. They are very tough. But you got 2 home games with winnable, like beatable teams in your own house, a place where you've only lost 1 game this year by a single point, like right at the end of the game. And in other games, you've looked pretty decent. I like those chances. And I keep seeing bowl projections that the Bearcats are slated to go to the Rate Bowl here in lovely Arizona at Chase Field, home of the Arizona Diamondbacks. That would be great. I would love to have the prize for a 6-6 or 7-5 season be that Cincinnati comes to my backyard and plays here 2 days after Christmas. Honestly, like, and I know, again, just keep that perspective in mind. Perspective is helping me a lot through this like tough first 18 months through the Big 12 experience for the Cincinnati Bearcats. And I think that's good. You're still 5-3 with a month to play. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I look at too. Also, for those of you who are watching on video, you probably did just realize Steve looks a lot like Scotty Scheffler. He did dress as Scotty Scheffler for Halloween. Fantastic job. Great
Picks
job.
coming later.
Yeah. we'll put it on the Twitter. I think the team sits in a really good position in a way that, this was actually our ceiling too. When we talked about this all off season, the Bowl by Boulder idea, the whole idea of getting to Colorado, getting your 6th win there or before then, that was just the ceiling. Like that's high as you go. You're not going to go undefeated walking in there. You're not going to walk out of there undefeated, but you might be able to bowl. I think there's still a lot of potential for this team. There's a lot of good things on the horizon. They have some tough teams, but there are some winnable games. And also, I'll just throw this out there. We've noticed there's a little bit of a pattern going on here. We won 2 games and lost the game going into the bye week. We have now won 2 games and lost a game going into the bye week. We got West Virginia and Iowa State is a pretty good looking team. So if that pattern continues, I'll take it because the game after that's K-State and then you win TCU. I think everybody's satisfied with that. If you can win either of those games on the road in the Big 12 against 2 ranked teams, one of them being undefeated right now, I think that looks really, really good for your resume. And the other one's only loss is to another undefeated team in BYU with Kansas State there. So I think that balance is really good. There's still a lot of, potential there. We'll see if they can be up to snuff towards the end of the season. But real quick, Joel, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that point, but I do want to just break down one thing about this game that really stuck out to me was the fact that you look at kind of what both teams wanted to do in this game and how they were able to achieve it. Bearcats, of course, you got to shut down the passing game. You got to make sure if they're throwing the ball a bunch, you're making them inefficient. Shadur Sanders in this game, 25 for 30, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like, the man threw one of the cleanest games he's had all year, and that just clearly didn't work. And then on top of that, the rushing game is a thing it's not been part of their game all season long. Joel talked about this last week, going into this week. This has not been a part of their game. And they established the run enough to be effective and enough to get those, few extra yards when they needed them. And I think that's ultimately what ended up pushing them over the edge. Bearcats in this game had 180 passing yards, 16 for 30 for Sorsby. Not often that you get both quarterbacks having the same amount of attempts. So you just get to line them up next to each other. 2 touchdowns there, but running game got pretty well established, but just wasn't enough in the end. And we weren't able to convert on a few things. And then the receiving game, this was my biggest goal for this game to not happen. And we did a very bad job of it. Don't let Travis Hunter look like a Heisman candidate in this game. Just make him a receiver, make him out there, make him be the 2-way player, but don't let him add to his Heisman highlight reel clips when he inevitably goes and maybe wins. And we gave them a lot of footage on this game. A lot of footage.
That last statement signed Ashton Genty gang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, I'm just looking at some of the stats real quick before we move on. And honestly, fairly clean game. 9 penalties for 69 yards for the Bearcats.
Mm-hmm.
Not so nice. You probably want to clean that up a little bit. But no turnovers. You did fumble the ball twice. You didn't lose either of those turnovers. Only gave up 1 sack. I know Colorado doesn't have the most stout defensive line, but still only giving up 1 sack is good. Only having 1 sack, not so good, and not taking the ball away against them. I know Shadur was probably able to find open, open guys and get and connect. Just from watching Justin, I'm seeing on the stat line here that Sorsby was 16 of 30. Was he missing guys? Was there tips? Can you kind of paint that story for me?
It was kind of a mix of both in this game. I don't think that it didn't look like it was necessarily Sorsby's fault, where maybe in some of the more recent games where, he started off the season really hot and then he was just kind of throwing right at the, defense. I think in this game, it just ended up being good coverage, honestly, from Colorado. They knew what they needed to do in this game. They knew our run game was going to happen one way or another. They have a great run defense. They're going to try to slow it down, but I think their coverage was honestly just really solid and a good chunk of this game, and that ended up being the biggest portion that shut down the passing offense, unfortunately.
One other takeaway that I had was we talked about it last week as well as just being a struggle on the year is we were only 3 for 10 on third down conversions. And at some point, it's starting to show you're not going to win a lot of games if you can't convert on those third downs. We were even 1 for 3 on fourth down conversion attempts. So, still sitting at 5-3, there's still a lot to build on and a lot to look forward to with the rest of the season. But at this point in the year, you know exactly what your weaknesses are and you know what you need to address.
Yep. And this will be my last point on this. Steve, if you got anything else, shoot right after this. But my final point on this game, which is what you just said, Joel, you got weaknesses, you know what they are, identify them, fix them. This is the biggest weakness all season long, came up again in this game. It's happened to us 3, maybe 4 games so far this season. Finish out the first half. Figure out a way to finish out the first half. You get to the end of it, everything looks to be going up. Colorado's scoring points as you expected. They're going to put up some offense, but you're trying to close out the first half and just go in feeling good about the game. And so we'll paint this picture real quick. Bearcats lose the ball on downs. They go for it on fourth down. You're on the Colorado 46. So you're not in a bad spot going for it. You're in a reasonable spot. It's probably too long to wait for it to ask for a kick, but you're also in a position where if you punt it, you're going to force them to have the ball. So you at least try. Makes sense. Then when you give up the ball, all you have to do, just don't let them score. They had 30 seconds left. Maybe it wasn't 30 seconds, somewhere right around 30 seconds, 30, 40 seconds left. 5 plays, 54 yards, touchdown. Like clockwork. Like we've seen this all season long. You just don't let the opponent score or you convert on your drive. You drove 70 yards up the field, put it in the end zone, get 3, get 6, get something, and you come up with nothing. This has happened in the Pitt game. This happened against Texas Tech.
6 out of the 8 games, Justin. 6 out of the 8 games. The only games that didn't happen was Towson and Houston. Like, we're 2 of the games where you were like arguably overmatched better than it's literally happened in 6 of 8 games. Like, you think about the Miami game too, they fumbled right before the end of the first half. Like they constantly have problems like right at the end of the first half. I don't know what it is. Like, is it Sat trying to do too much? Is it like, the kicking game, like kind of getting in their own head? It's been both Carter Brown and Hawks that have missed first half kicks. Like, I don't know what it is. And it's like, again, you're nitpicking and there's a lot more to highlight after a loss for sure. But even in those wins, like you think about it, like, I think you said that I didn't really get a chance to watch the Texas Tech game because I was driving at that time. But like, you correct 2 of those games and I don't think you would give UC this win against Colorado. I think Colorado was just going to be eventually at home. You're traveling like across the country. They were probably going to find a way to win. But, the Texas Tech and Pitt games, like, well, let's talk about that later. I think we have a conversation that we want to bring up later.
Yes. Yeah. And with that final point in this game, which again, this is the biggest thing here in this game, swing 14-17, Colorado's up going into the half. You put 6 on the board, you take a lead into the half and you're not playing from under. And that's happened so many times. And if you don't fix that, it's going to continue to kill you.
If you just talk about momentum and, people say, oh, momentum's not real. Momentum is absolutely real because that instantly shifts the attitude and the emotion going into that locker room.
Yep.
If we are up going into halftime late at night, the away team, like at this, program that's been so hyped up in the media all year, you go in thinking, okay, let's go handle business in the second half. Whereas now you turn it over on downs, you give up that end of half touchdown. Now it's, well, shit, like that sucked. How do we recover from that? It's 2 completely different schools of thinking. And Steve, like you said, 6 of 8 games this year going into the half kind of deflating, like not great.
Yep. Instead of being up 4, you're down 10. Way different ball game. So unfortunately, that's been sort of the crucifix, the cross to bear for the Bearcats this entire season. We'll see what happens. However, on this positive note, which is not very positive, gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you straight up right now, what game do you think the Bearcats get to 6 wins and go bowling?
West Virginia.
3-1.
3-1 at noon games.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I know Green was out last weekend against Arizona. The backup did look all right. Nico Marchiol. And I think they're off this week as well. So it's a likelihood that Green would be able to play, but I think you got to win at home. Like, I know West Virginia is going to bring a good crowd there, and it's going to be like but you've got to win at home. And you're like you said, 3-1 in noon games, Joel. And it's getting a little bit more like football weather there. You got the 100th anniversary dedication of Nippert Stadium, on that day, and that they're celebrating. I think you got to bring it home that day. Because, if you look at TCU, they are getting better as the season has gone on. They made a crazy comeback to beat Texas Tech this past Saturday. They've got Baylor coming up. The TCU Trolls are back in full force, meaning that they've got to feel good about where they're going. Like, I know the TCU Trolls are just in full force mostly all the time, but they've been a little bit more spicy lately. So I don't know if you want that, like, at the end of the season. I don't know if you want, like, and I did say that, like, Justin, that was kind of the point of the Bull by Boulder speech, is like, we thought November was going to be tough in general, and you don't want to leave it until your last game to potentially make a bowl game. And I think you've got to really close the deal against West Virginia. You're coming off a bye, like you said, another chance to get people healthy, really figure out some stuff. Hopefully you can figure out what West Virginia is doing and shut them down, because that would be huge to get that 6th win. And I feel like it would just, like, I understand. I don't really think a 5-3 start has people sold on Scott Satterfield being the future of this Cincinnati team. But, like, Justin, if we come back in the offseason and we say, well, you lost your last 5 games and you finished the season 5-7, everybody hates them again. It's pretty simple. So, like, it is theoretically possible that they go 1-4 in their last 5, and that's just the schedule. Like, that's not even like, like the team being bad. But I think it would do a lot to, like, get back to a bowl this year, and I think it's got to be West Virginia. Plus, Justin, your first ever Big 12 win against a Hateful Eight member. That's like you've been in this league for nearly 1.5 football seasons, and you still don't have a win over a Hateful Eight member of the Big 12. So that would be nice to get that one.
Yeah, I agree. I would have to agree too. I mean, there's a part of me, like, there's a conspiracy theory part of me that thinks there's actually an okay chance to, like, go in and maybe, like, upset the hell out of Iowa State, only because when you have that much, you're undefeated at that point in the season still for Iowa State. You've been playing for so long. Somebody is probably going to trip them up at some point. I don't see why the Bearcats couldn't be that team. We've been in every game. That was one of our big goals in the offseason. Don't get creamed every game. Keep every game close. If you're going to lose, we've done that. We've kept it within about 10. And so with all, what I would say is, like, that game seems like an opportunity to do so. West Virginia, though, I would agree. I think it makes sense. They're 4-4 this season. They don't look very good. They're not what everybody expected them to be. Maybe the rest of the Big 12 expected them to be. They're not what West Virginia expected West Virginia to be. Their wins are tight wins against Arizona, Kansas. You got Albany, and then they just beat Oklahoma State, which is worth nothing at this point in the year because they're terrible. And they got absolutely creamed by Kansas State, got killed by Iowa State at home, and lost to Pitt in the same fashion we did, basically. So I think between those games, they just don't seem very good to me, in a way that I think that, like, you shouldn't at least be a toss-up in this game, if not winning it. Maybe not convincingly, but winning it by a touchdown. Joel, you had a question. Go ahead.
I think we all know what the answer is going to be, but sitting here now at 3 losses on the year, and this loss technically by points was our worst loss, but it doesn't feel super deflating. Like, we're not doom and gloom after this game. So what is our worst loss on the season so far? Of course, we have the Pitt collapse at home, which I think is going to be all of our answers. We've got the Texas Tech game that we could have easily sent to overtime and have that momentum going in and possibly coming out of Lubbock with a steal of a win. And then Colorado, where, yeah, like it was close for a while, but at the end of it, we just didn't have it. So what do you guys think is our true worst loss so far in the year?
I would say, like, I don't think you could answer anything other than Pitt in this. You could argue for some other games is what it means.
Let me give you the contrarian argument real quick. Just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Pitt doesn't mean anything for your conference standings. Texas Tech did. And you had bad turnovers in that game. You lose your starting running back. Like, there's a lot of like different what ifs in that game. And then the two weird calls on that last drive as well with the 10-second runoffs, Texas Tech like not running their defense on the field and almost running out the clock. I do think that, and like now looking at Texas Tech, who's showing that they're not really that great of a team, I think that's one that I would really like to have back. I mean, obviously, go ahead, like we all know the Pitt story, and maybe I'm just avoiding it by saying this, but you could have really been putting yourself in the driver's seat to be like, that would have been your 6th win, Justin. That would have been your moment. And this past Saturday, you would have still been undefeated in conference going into Boulder. And like that would have been put even more stakes onto that game. So that's just only the contrarian viewpoint, but go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say this much. If you look at where Pitt currently sits versus where their expectations were, nobody expected them to be a top 25 team. They ran through their schedule. Got it? You lose to Pitt. Instead of starting off 2-0, you start off 1-2. You then play Miami. So now that you've lost to Pitt, any potential that you have to give value to your season other than just trying to go bowling and actually trying to really make a statement, you've lost in the first 2 weeks. Like it's gone. And I think that's the thing. And it's not even just the loss, it's the way that you lose. And I think that's one of the things where I look at the Texas Tech one killed me. I would love to have that back, but it still looked like on paper, you were in it every game. You had excuses as to why you lost. You lost your 2 running backs. You had the weird calls at the end. You had all these things go just kind of wonky in this game that on paper, a 3-point loss on the road in Lubbock, like it looks like a pretty good game on paper. And everything felt good about that game at that point in time. I think the Pitt loss, you blow a 21-point lead. Nothing went right for you in that second half. If you win that game and then you go into that you might have gone into that Texas Tech game looking like possibly a ranking. I think we got credit because Pitt has been undefeated and they beat us on the road. So they look better. So then we kind of look better for that loss. However, I think the value of winning that Pitt game would have put you in a position where you're going in to Colorado and you're playing as a ranked team. You're going into Colorado with a lot more, like you said, on the line. And I just think that game, we're going to look back. I even actually tweeted this out this week. I think that's your what if game. I really do think that, because with Pitt's record, with Pitt's ranking, with everything there, they've clearly shown to be a valuable team, whether it's conference or not. I think they're just in a position where if you had that game back, you could have been a top 25 team. And now, especially that you've lost to Colorado, unless you beat West Virginia, beat Iowa State, maybe if you beat Iowa State on the road, you could creep into the top 25, but you might even have to beat Iowa State and then go to Manhattan and beat them to even be in the conversation to be in the top 25. Like, I think that's where you're at this point in the season.
One more argument for the Texas Tech game. Keep in mind, we would have had Patrick Mahomes in a Bearcat head had we won that.
That is very fair.
I don't know if he wants me to tell this story, so maybe I'll tell it offline. But let's just say I don't know how they would have figured out getting the Bearcat head to Patrick Mahomes. So that's I don't want to say too much because we have friends in certain places, but well, maybe we three will talk.
Oh, but they sure as hell figured out a way to get that head over to Travis Kelce.
I got it.
Travis Kelce's gonna get the head.
that's another story for another day as well. That we'll take that one offline too.
Yeah.
Well, Justin,
did you just say Travis Kelce is going to get that head?
I didn't say shit, Joel. Steve.
Justin, it is your time to shine. Basketball season kicks off this Monday, November 4th. Go ahead, baby. Tell us how you're feeling.
Gentlemen, I have been waiting for this for so long. The hype is real. The excitement is here. It's time. It is time. Like I said, it's perfect. It's a bye week, which actually lets you just sit there and focus on the basketball game that's coming up. We start Monday night. Next week, vibes are going to be good. You got Arkansas Pine Bluff. You have a team that you have done well enough against. I actually looked. I was curious. All-time scoreboard. Looked it up. It's actually interesting. Tied 5-5 over the course of their matchup history. However, this is a team that you should realistically be, especially with the way you played against Ohio State. You clean up the turnovers that you had in that game against a much farther down the totem pole team. You should be winning this game by 25 plus. And I don't think it should be a question. I'd be curious to see if there's a spread on this game yet. I haven't checked, but I would be very curious to see what that line would be.
Well, Justin, if you read our pregame notes, lines have not been released yet.
Has not. Okay. It has not. Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
So I'm considering this year to be the year to finally break down and get the KenPom.com subscription. So he does put out lines for his games. So maybe I'll come back to you. I'll just say this, Justin. Speaking of Mr. Ken Pomeroy, Cincinnati is the number 17 team in the country according to Mr. Ken Pomeroy's ratings.
Cincinnati is the 17th highest GDP by country.
That's right. Guess who is guess what Pine Bluff is? Just give me a guess.
So this is probably out of what, 350, 360?
Out of we are out of 364 teams this year. Guess what Pine Bluff is? They are D1, so they are within the 364.
215.
I'm going to say 289.
Oh, so close. 355.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yes.
Yikes.
Good
Arkansas
Lord.
Pine Bluff operating out of the SWAC. They are number 355 according to Mr. Ken Pomeroy's rankings. So, Justin, I think you probably set the line at 25 points. And this will be a good one to clip, Justin. So you better get better get the Twitter fingers working again.
Yeah, that's quite a line. And also too, for those of you who are curious, I will real quick just give you this interesting update from last year for Arkansas Pine Bluff. Never mind. I thought I was going to find a final record. I did not. I did not find that as fast as I thought I would.
Invigorating.
Terrible preview. Terrible preview. Look at me.
Great radio, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely great radio. Here's the thing. Here's the thing when you're looking at this game and you're looking forward for this season. These are the teams that, like, historically you're going to beat up on. You're going to go out there and you're going to try to, like I said, win by 20 plus. These games are the games where you have to show, as the Bearcats team, you have to show that you can systematically break these teams down. Sometimes in these games, we still let these teams score more points than they should. Sometimes these teams are scoring like 65 points, 70 points. We're scoring a shit ton in response. We're scoring 90, but you need to systematically break down and show that your defense has made strides and improvements based on last year and keep teams like this, like sub 55. Like, you should, even if you're not scoring 90 in this game, you should not let these teams be anywhere close to competing to a point that even looks like they put up some points. It shouldn't be a ball game whatsoever.
just to wrap up that point, Mr. Bart Torvik, another college basketball ratings guy, he does have a spread available, publicly available without pay on this game. It is Cincinnati by 32, and he's predicting a 92-60 win for your Bearcats. So I think we would be pretty happy with that, Justin. But I understand the point about defense. And Justin, we did lose a secret scrimmage recently. I forget to who, and I know Day Day didn't play, but that's perfect.
It was the River City sweep, unfortunately.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. So, but again, Day Day didn't play, and we won the game that we care about more and that we actually posted a graphic about. So, at least we're not like Arizona State losing by 50 in a secret scrimmage.
Correct. Here's the thing. This is what I was looking for. 13-18 last year for Arkansas Pine Bluff, 8-10 in the SWAC, and 5-12 on the road. If you just look at some of their bigger like non-conference opponents, Minnesota lost 67-86, Missouri 79-101. This is a team that, again, we've said this before, say it again, just blow them out. Like, don't even make it a game. Go out there, start dunking. I want to see CJ Anthony get a bunch of minutes. I want to see all your freshmen get a bunch of minutes. I want to see your walk-ons get minutes. Like, this is a game that should just be taken care of with 10 minutes to go. Like,
if Halveen Zalat does not come in this game, I'm giving up my season tickets.
Yes.
I don't have any season tickets, but I'm giving them up if I don't see some Halveen Zalat minutes.
Yeah, and this is actually
I don't even know if that's how you say his name, but
I don't know if we officially said it, but Bearcats are officially 20 in the ESPN rankings, or I guess AP rankings for the season. So good place to start. It obviously gives you some good ground to gain early, and happens every year to even some good teams. Teams will lose. Some of these other teams, like we have the benefit of not really playing. I'm gonna have to clip this at some point. We have the benefit of not playing really any super competitive teams until you get to Xavier. You do have Villanova on the road, which will be tough. But the Bearcats should be better in that game. Georgia Tech on the road, you should absolutely be better than them. They showed to be decent actually last year, beating some pretty good ACC teams. I think Duke and maybe UNC included. They beat one of the two of them. They showed to be a good enough team, but you should be in a position where you go into the shootout undefeated. And that is your goal. That's not even your ceiling. Like, your ceiling should be cleaning the board, if you can, which is asking a lot, but clean the board going into Big 12 play.
Well, and not just going into the shootout game or Big 12, but also just the entire season. We talked about this on our very early basketball preview, but just starting the season, preseason ranked, gives you so much credit moving on in the season, where if you do drop a couple, you're probably going to still be in the mix for the top 25 because you get the benefit of a doubt. Whereas if we were even 26, 27 and didn't have that number by our name, we weren't going to have that benefit of the doubt, and we would have to grind our way each and every step of the way. But now we kind of do have that extra, like, hey, what about Cincinnati?
Yeah, well, and that's a very good point too, because if you look at where we were last season, we started off probably in the 60s. As far as, at least with KenPom ratings, we jumped up into the top 25, I think, at some point for KenPom. We never did for AP officially. And that's a thing, like you said, when you start at this point, you at least have so much more credit that when you lose those games and you win some more in a row, you get to teeter back and forth between the edge to the top 25, instead of last year where it was every time we'd go on a little bit of a run, we'd be like, all right, this is the week we're going to be a top 25 team. Tuesday night, we're going to jump in the top 25. We beat that team and then lose the next one. You miss out on it. Like this, at least you're in a good position all season long. And like you said, it gives you some credit. And hopefully with Xavier being, I believe Xavier started off ranked too. They should be. Maybe not. Is Xavier not ranked? Oh my God. Wait, are they not ranked? Hold on. Somebody else say something. Wait, let me look at this real quick. Somebody else.
I got to pull it up right now. Hold on. Let me.
Are they actually not ranked? They were like in every single poll to start the season.
They are.
They are not. They're
votes.
28.
They are. 28 receiving.
Damn. Imagine if you were listed as receiving votes. Couldn't be me.
Imagine being the coach of this former program and being 2 spots below where your old program is. Could also not be me.
Also could not be us. Yeah. I think that we're in it, like we said, we're in a very good position to start the season. Take care of business. Take care of business in this game. Like I said, you have Arkansas Pine Bluff. You got to feel pretty good about that game. You get Morehead State on the 8th, which I believe is the following week. So
it's this next Friday. So we'll record a podcast in between.
Precisely. So we will
on the night. Well, we'll do next Wednesday because we got to watch the women's basketball game on Tuesday night. There's nothing else going on.
We have more things to preview. Don't worry about it. And my last point, gentlemen, real quick, I want you to tell me right now 2 things. Who is going to be the MVP of this season, and who is going to be the best new addition to this team? They can be the same person. If you were to think about the entire roster,
I'm going to say obviously Dylan Mitchell for the new addition, and then for MVP, I think it's Jizzle, man. Like I really think he's got the goods. Like I think this might be his year to really just shine and show who he is, and to take over that full-on starting role and like have Day be his backup because, dude. Jizz is the Riz, man. Like we there's the Rizzler. We've got the
Jizzler.
No, I was gonna say don't say that.
Never mind. Anyway, well, hey, maybe this season will end with Jizzle James on the Jimmy Fallon show. We'll see.
Could be. Joel?
I was gonna go hand in hand with Mitchell. Of course. I mean, how can you not? I think that's one of the ones that everyone, even some national pundits have been listing us as second weekend teams, and he's going to be a big reason why. And then I'm excited for what Skillings can do. He's someone who is all about campus life. He embodies the heart and soul of the Bearcats, and it's just going to be awesome to see him light up Fifth Third.
Yep. Those are 2 very good picks there from both y'all, or I guess 3 technically. I am going to ride the same train as Mitchell. I think it's no doubt that he is by far going to be the most valuable addition to this team. Just so much talent and so much ability around the rim. Might come as a surprise. I'm going to double down on Mitchell. I really think that Dylan Mitchell is going to be the core of this team. You've got Dan Skillings, you have Seamoss, you have Jizzle. You have so many guys who can shoot the ball on this team. And, the last year's sort of goal was to just drop down and feed it to Aziz when everybody else got open. Having a guy like Mitchell, who is a really strong 4, in the same way, look at what worked so well for so long in the beginning of last season. Vic was insane. And it's not just, I think, just a talent thing for Vic. I think it is also a scheme thing because you open up so much more of the floor. Dylan Mitchell has the ability to move around and create a lot of different opportunities for the entire team. I think he's going to be really pivotal down low for us and help. Again, you have so many guys who are going to spread out the floor already. I think it's going to give him some more room to work. And I feel like you're going to see, this is the closest guy that we've had to Trey Scott since Trey Scott. I think this is the type of guy who really is just that turnkey sort of player for you, where you're going to expect everybody else to get theirs. You're going to expect everybody else to shoot. And with his ability to rebound, he's going to have a lot of putbacks. He's going to be able to distribute the ball pretty well. And he's just nasty up at the rim. Like, I think that he's just going to be a really, really solid player. So, like I said, I'm going to double down on him. I think he's going to be our MVP this year. But the best part about this, guys, is that it's not a unanimous thing. All of us said something different. And that's the best part, because when is the last time that we've talked about this team like that? Like, there's always been some talent, with 1 or 2 guys, but this, again, is a 5 deep squad and starting, and your bench is so deep. Like, it could be anybody. And I'm really excited about it. So super hyped for basketball season to start. We're churning through this a little bit slower than we expected, but that's fine. Guess what? Steve has something for y'all, and he's going to give it to you.
Bring it right here. Listen up. You want to know where you can get the best high-quality Bearcats gear this season? It's from your friends at Charlie Hustle. You know, Charlie Hustle has been making vintage-made fresh gear for UC now for only 2 years, but I can tell you it is some of the comfiest gear I've ever worn. It's got shirt tags. It's got really quality, high cotton count material. It's got cool designs. It's got fun stuff all around. Not just Bearcat stuff, too. You know, my now wife is an Arizona alum, and there is some amazing Arizona gear on there as well. So if you are someone who loves high-quality clothing with Bearcats logos on it, get yourself over to Charlie Hustle. Use that promo code 101215 for 15% off your first order. And then when you buy that shirt, send us a picture. Wear it to a game. Show us what you got. We want to see you wearing your Charlie Hustle gear this year. Bring the Ruckus, bring the Cincinnati, and show us what you have. So head on over to charliehustle.com. Use that promo code 101215. And if you're going to be in Kansas City this year for the Big 12 tournament when the Bearcats cut down the nets, Charlie Hustle's going to be there too. So just put that at the back of your mind for the end of the season. Charlie Hustle, vintage made fresh.
Absolutely beautiful work, Steve. Beautiful work. You know what? That one of those shirts that we showed you, I got it on right now. Look at that. Bring the Ruckus. Great. Love the little tiki font. Absolutely comfortable. Gotta have it. Gotta have it, folks. Gentlemen, it is time for the Viva La Cash segment. Joel, Steve has another shirt too. He's got another one. He's got that 1992 Final Four shirt. Beauty.
Finalist, Justin. You can't copyright.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Finals.
Finalist.
Yeah, finals. With that said, gentlemen, it is time for Viva La Cash. Bring us the monies.
Money, please.
Money, please. Money, please.
Here comes the money.
All right, kids. It's a bye week. So it's a bye week. You know what, Steve? I like the lines that you have presented. You got the spread. Did we have a total in that? Was that mentioned? Or is it just the spread?
I'm not presenting who's what?
We're using the number that you gave us before, the 32.5.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. The 31.9 to be correct.
31.9.
So. Should we take it?
Let's say 32. Let's say 32 will be our spread for the week.
Okay. All right. 32.
I mean, we would only be doing a disservice to ourselves, to our fans, to the show if we didn't hammer the Cats.
Cats by 90 divided by 3 plus 2. It's a thought. I like it. I have another one, Justin. I did not get a chance to put in my picks. So real quick. Well, let me just give you one, and you guys can go ahead and give yours. I know we were talking about them earlier, but the one team that I irrationally hate that is not one of our direct rivals, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs, and I'll tell you why. They have no fan base. Nobody there actually really cares about SMU, and they are just basically in the ACC because they said, you know what, we're not going to take a conference deal. We're going to pay for it ourselves. And I don't like to see rich kids win. I like to see rich kids get knocked down a peg. And you know who they're bringing in? That team that we don't like, the Pitt Panthers. Now, the Pitt Panthers have been on a roll this year, and they just had 3 pick sixes in the first half of a nationally televised game last week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do? And you know what the point spread is for this game, even though SMU is at home? SMU is a 7.5-point favorite. So I know we don't really like Pitt, but give me the Panthers on the field. Plus 250 money line this Saturday night. They keep the undefeated season rolling. They make our what if even larger. We start a whole Marvel series based on what if this year. Give me the Panthers on the field.
All right. Joel.
All right, boys. So we all like a little redemption story, right? This is a small little team, a little bit down south, depending on how far you consider down south. But this is a team who only lost to a big boy by 3 points. This is a team who has been out of the national spotlight for so long. This is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt travels to Auburn and is a 7-point underdog. Auburn is 3-5 on the year. Auburn is not good. Vanderbilt is hungry and showing that they belong in the top 25. They got knocked out this week after losing at home to Texas. So I think Vanderbilt is going to come back with a vengeance, and I would easily take them +7.
Love it. Love it for the locals. Gentlemen, this one, I've said there's been some easy money ones on this. This would be arguably a tough matchup, but I don't know. I've seen some top 5 teams here in this kind of matchup, and it's gone really wonky and really sideways. Ohio State plays at Penn State this week. Penn State, they're ranked. They're number 3. They're somehow number 3. Guess what? Ohio State, if you look at their last few games, Michigan State, 38-7. Iowa, 35-7. Oregon lost by 1 on the road. Tough game, tough end. Nebraska, 21-17. Close game, tight. You know what this team doesn't do? They don't lose to Penn State. They hate Penn State, not as much as they hate Michigan, but they might as well hate Penn State just as much. There's no way they're not covering 3.5 on the road at Penn State. I just don't see how it happens. Like it seems like easy money. Steve, hit me with your next one.
Just real quick, this is a time of year to just go with a sick game. Just pick something really sick, just disgusting. Like we're getting late in the season.
He going sicko mode.
Yes, exactly. And here's how sick I'm going. Tulsa is playing at UAB this weekend. I told you a couple of weeks ago, bet against you, or last week, my return on the show, bet against UAB. They are terrible. I'm listening to myself this week. Tulsa is a 3-point underdog at UAB when UAB has done nothing to show any of the college football nation that they deserve being a favorite at all. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet Tulsa +3. Tulsa just came back from a 28-point deficit last week. I watched with my own eyes as Tulsa won that game against UTSA. So give me Tulsa at UAB. Just an absolute sick game to pick.
Joel,
give me your last one.
All right. I'm between 2, but I think I have to go with the easy one. So last week, one of my over-unders was the Houston-Utah game. Over-under was set at 36.5. And I said, that's way too low. Bet the over. You got to score that. Guys, these two teams scored under that. It was a 17-14 game. Both teams are absolute dog doo-doo. I know we've cursed already on this show, but hey, that one's for the kids. So, look, number 17, Kansas State, goes to Houston. No fans in that stadium. No will to live from any of that team's. Kansas State is a 13.5-point favorite going into Houston. I think they smoke them.
Avery Johnson brings the dagger.
Brings the Johnson.
Houston's house. Yeah, there you go.
Brings the boom.
Yeah. Oh, God. Are we all going to have to do it now?
No, let's keep rolling.
Yeah, no.
Double chunk chocolate cookie. I'm so tired of hearing that shit. I wish that is one trend and group of people that I wish would just go away, but just has not yet.
Not the Rizzler. The Rizzler is a protected class in today's society.
Along with the Jizzler. Gentlemen, my last pick for this week, we have number 13, Indiana at Michigan State. Guess what? Indiana, 7.5-point favorite in this game. Indiana is on a little bit of a heater right now. For those of you who do not know, Indiana is undefeated right now, 8-0. Of course, They haven't lost any games. They've killed some teams. They've killed some Big Ten teams. This is a team for me that just doesn't seem like they're going to slip up now. I don't think it's going to happen at Michigan State. I think it's probably going to happen against Ohio State later. However, what about this game is a 7.5 point? They beat Washington 31-17. They beat Nebraska 56-7. The Nebraska that just got within a touchdown to Ohio State, killed Northwestern, killed Maryland, killed UCLA, killed Western Illinois. This team's on a heater right now. I don't think they're going to slip up against Michigan State, and I think they're just going to keep rolling. So take the Hoosiers.
One side note I have about the Indiana Hoosiers season. How, once again, dog doo-doo is conference realignment that they could potentially prevent a Penn State-Indiana Big Ten championship game because Oregon and all the other West Coast teams decided to hop in.
That's true.
You know what, Joel? That's a good idea. They should just make a conference based on teams who are in the West Coast, and they should just all play each other and play for their own conference championship. I think you would call it the Pacific 12. I don't know. It just a thought.
Steve, you have a good point, but it won't make money, and that's all that I care about.
Yeah. Yeah, boo you. Us fans just want to see other people get paid a bunch of money and hike up our ticket prices. Come on, get it together, Steve. Boo you. You know who we're saying boo to? Not this guy. We got a Charlie Hustler of the week. Gentlemen, it is time. I skipped our electric games. We're going over. It's fine. We're going to come back to that. Our Charlie Hustler of the week. It was about damn time. We've been waiting for this boy all season long to get back up here because you knew he was going to bring it at some point. Tetaroa McMillan, 10 receptions, 202 yards, averaging 20 yards a catch with a touchdown. Dude's insane. It's been a struggle all season long for him to actually get into gear, and for the Fafita to McMillan connection to finally get into full swing. It's happening now. Joel, what's next?
Yeah, we're going to touch on our Aspirinaholic of the week. Of course, how can it not be Kansas State, Kansas? Kansas State was going for 16 straight over their in-state rival, and they sure did get it, winning 29-27. Kansas State was trailing going into the fourth quarter, but they kicked a 51-yard field goal. 51-yard field goal in college with just over a minute left to take the lead in that game.
Forced the fumble on Jalen Daniels too, right near the end. So, yeah, not good. Not good, Jalen.
Steve, it's time for a bozo.
Much like me, I am the bozo of the week. It is actually your friends out nearby me in Vegas for making UCF a favorite this week to disrespect the BYU Cougars led by Jake Retzlaff and the punter who snapped the ball to the kicker after receiving a snap himself. The underdogs were barking all over this game, and the BYU Cougars are the dogs this week. So bozos, you and UCF, because their program is just melting down right now, and it's just great to see.
Gentlemen, as an average income person who uses some money to sports gamble on the weekends, I usually put down like $2, $3, maybe $5 on a game if I'm feeling good about it. I put 10 on this game. Easiest $10 I ever spent. Easiest $20 I ever made. I don't understand it. I do not understand how they made BYU an underdog in that game. Absolutely ridiculous. Put some respect on the Cougs. Joel, why don't you just tell us, what was our most watchable game of the week?
TCU Texas Tech. TCU was down 17 in the second half, scored an 84-yard touchdown pass to take the lead in that fourth quarter, and then held out for 5 minutes to close that game. So Texas Tech having one of the Bearcats' classic second half fumbles.
Welcome to the club.
Yep.
Welcome to
the curse of the red and black.
Indeed. Gentlemen, that's all of those. Real quick, Joel, while you're at it, give us the Electric Factory game of the weeks. Games of the week.
You guys picked both the Electric Factory games that I had in there. Ohio State, Penn State. Of course, that is a top 5 matchup, which is awesome. But it's also the loser goes home game. Will Ohio State have 2 losses after this, or will Penn State never be able to overcome that hump and beat Ohio State? And then the other game we had was, of course, the oceanfront battle between Pitt and SMU in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Both teams that are nestled right up on the coast and just took a boat all the way down.
You're right. Sailed straight down the Mississippi and then took a 500-mile car ride over.
You know what game's electric right now? Right before, they just scored a touchdown, but at the half tonight, it was Louisiana Tech 3, Sam Houston 2. That was a football score, and there were more runs in the baseball game tonight before the most recent touchdown.
That's a sicko game.
3-2.
Midnight CUSA, baby. And then you know what starts next week? Most important thing of all that's on next Tuesday night? Maction, baby. Maction is back.
Yeah. Maction is back.
And nothing else next Tuesday.
Yes, exactly.
It's the way it should be. This is the way the football gods destined it. Gentlemen, it's time to wrap up the show. Steve, every single week you bring the heat. Does he have it again? Does he have it in him?
Hit me with it, Justin. Give me the clock.
You have, sir, 2 minutes starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, go.
Women's basketball, they defeated Thomas More 81-41 on Sunday in an exhibition game. They will play Illinois Chicago in their first game of the season next Tuesday when nothing else is going on at all other than action like we just talked about. Nothing else going on during that game. Volleyball, they unfortunately lost to Texas Tech at home last Thursday, but they will be going on the road to UCF and Houston this week to show them who the real space school is in this conference. Women's soccer, they drew UCF in their final game of the season 2-2, but they are going to the Big 12 tournament and they will be playing Wednesday afternoon. So as you're listening to this podcast, make sure to turn on the ESPN Plus stream of the women's soccer match. They will play against Oklahoma State. They're the 12 seed, but hey, who doesn't love a Cinderella run? Tennis, the women will visit TCU this weekend for the J Foundation Invitational. So go ahead and watch some tennis. There's a great live stream on ESPN Plus. Cross country, they are competing in the Big 12 championships this weekend. Anytime the Big 12 championships are up for grabs, we want to see the Bearcats bring one home. So why not cross country? Let's do it. Swimming and diving, they will finish us up this week. They will compete in a meet this weekend in Morgantown against West Virginia. I believe they were swimming all the way there to Morgantown to get there. They're swimming just directly up the Ohio and going down from Pittsburgh to get there. So that is your Bearcat Sports wrap-up.
Ooh, nice and crispy. Under 130. Impressive. Very impressive, Steve. A round of applause.
Wow.
The boys still got it.
The boys still got it. Gentlemen, that's all we've got for this week. So let's get on out of here. Let me give you a few quick reminders. The end of our show. As always, go out and support your Bearcats. They bleed red and black just the same as the rest of us. They also win some games, and you might be in person for them. So make sure to go over those games. Like Steve, just crush some cans. Some of those games got cheap beers. Go watch them. Go have a good time cheering on the Bearcats. Make sure we support all of our other sports aside from basketball and football. They're not the only ones who play. And with that said, shout out to our sponsors, Charlie Hustle, always bringing the heat, giving us some great shirts, and providing plenty of different layers for all the different times of year. So check out their site. Use the promo code 101215 for 15% off of all non-sale items. Good as long as we keep giving it to you. And of course, we are part of the 1012 Network. So make sure to check out at 1012 Network on Twitter. If you're not already, follow that account. That will give you all of the best updates from all of the Big 12 teams. That is not just the Big 12 conference main account. You got everything. You got wrestling in there. You have so many additional things that you didn't even think you wanted to know about, but guess what? You got coverage. You got coverage. So check it out. It'll be there for you. Gentlemen, that's all we got for this week. Bearcats on a bye week for football, but be on the lookout for that game on Monday. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. We will talk about that fresh off that game next week on next Tuesday night when we record. So with all those things aside, it's time. Joel, kick us off. Steve, finish us off.
Viva! Cats!
Rawr!